Welcome to the 10th episode of Jesus and Truth, where we will be talking about Jesus and his truth found in the Bible. My name is Daniel Duvall, and I'm the minister for the Leeward Church of Christ in Hawaii. One of the most heart-wrenching stories for parents has got to be the time where Jesus gets lost by his parents. It was when Jesus was about 12 years old, and they went to Jerusalem. They start heading back home, and it goes about a day's time before they realize that he's not in the caravan with them. They figured maybe he's playing with family or friends or something like that, but after a day of not seeing him, they start to panic. In fact, that makes me want to stop this video and check on my kids just to make sure they're okay right now. But it takes them 3 days. I can't imagine not being in touch with my kids for 3 days. And for any of those who have are parents out there, you probably feel the same. It's hard to go sometimes 3 hours or 3 minutes if you're a helicopter parent, right? And what they do is they do eventually, after searching for him, find him sitting in the midst of teachers, both listening to them and asking them questions. And people, their reaction to Jesus after they find him at the temple, he's conversating with all those different teachers. The reaction is people are astonished at him. But his parents, not so. They're not really paying attention to that part. The first thing that comes out of their mouth is not, "Wow, look at you asking and requesting answers and giving answers." But their reaction is, "Child, why have you treated us this way? Behold, your father and I have been anxiously searching for you." And the wonderful, legendary response that Jesus has at 12 years old is, "Why is it that you were searching for me? Did you not know that I had to be in my Father's house? You should have known where I was, because this was a priority for me," is what Jesus says to his parents. And it's so wonderful because you get to see in this story the parallel, the parents, and how they're just losing composure, they're worried, they're anxious. And then you go to Jesus, he's composed, he's calm, he's collected, not a worry in the world. And that really is a characteristic that sets the standard from here going forward. We're going to look at a few of the Bible accounts of Jesus' life and just highlighting the composure that he has in them. This is a great leader quality, and it's one that certainly Jesus has. And so we'll cover as many stories as time allows for us. I look at my script and I kind of realize I probably have too much information to fit in. What my goal is about a 15-minute video here. But before we jump into the next Bible account, we want to just define this of what composure is: having one's feelings and expression under control, calm. And so it doesn't mean that you don't have a range of emotions. Jesus isn't a robot. But despite all of the emotions that are going on inside, you're able to keep them under control. And the appearance on the outside is one of calm. Mark chapter 5 is an interesting one where I read of the man who is possessed by many different demons. This was an extreme example of demon possession. Most of the time, there would be maybe one demon inside of an individual. This was many, many demons that were there. And this man that was demon possessed, it says, no one was able to bind him anymore, even with chain. The chains had been torn apart by him, the shackles broken in pieces, and no one was strong enough to subdue him. So more details are, constantly, day and night, among the tombs and in the mountains, he was screaming and gashing himself with stones. This is a terrifying individual. Everybody else was afraid of him. Imagine, he's breaking off chains. He's not able to be controlled. He's screaming day and night. He's gashing himself with stones. There's a reason people are staying away from this individual. This provokes a feeling of fear in people, and it was expressed in their actions. Yet this man approaches Jesus, and Jesus is completely calm. He's composed. He is just steady Eddie, so to speak. And when Jesus speaks to this man, the thing that he tells him is, really speaking to the demons, "Come out of the man, you unclean spirit." And he was asking him, "What is your name?" That's really not the questions and commands that you give to an individual that you are scared or terrified of. It's not the questions of a person who's worried and anxious and just stressing out over the situation. This is a person who is completely calm despite what's going on in this man, his history, what he had done in the past. And I really just appreciate Jesus's composure. I'm so impressed by it. It should be no shock to us because Jesus is indeed the Son of God. But nonetheless, Jesus always impresses me. And this is one of those examples where I would be terrified in front of this individual, yet Jesus is composed. Really, when I think of composure, there's one story that stands alone in what comes to my mind first. When I think of Jesus' composure, this next one is it in Mark chapter 4. And for that previous, we were in Mark chapter 5. So we're going a little bit back in time, but the order is not important for us in this study. The focus is on the attitude of Jesus, this characteristic that he has where he is composed. He's in control of all of his emotions, completely calm, and just looking at Jesus, being impressed by how he handles situations. It says in verse 35, "And on that day, when evening came, he said to them, 'Let us go over to the other side.' And leaving the crowd, they took him along with them in the boat, just as he was, and other boats were with him. And a great windstorm arose." So they're on their missionary trips, and they decide to go to a second place, or third, fourth, I don't know what number we're on, but another one. And so they take a boat to the other side. This was a faster travel than walking a lot of times, especially if there's a big body of water in the middle. But while they're on the water, one of the negative things of taking the boat is you don't know what the weather will be like, and weather's a whole lot easier to manage on land than it is in the sea. And so there was a storm, but not just a regular storm. This was a great windstorm, and it even describes what's happening. It says waves were breaking into the boat so that the boat was already filling up. Waves were breaking into the boat. So not just tossing and turning a little bit, rocking a little bit. And, some of you may get seasick with just a little bit of this motion that's going on the boat, right? Some people cannot even handle me doing this hand gesture because it's nauseating. I've never been on a boat. I got to find out whether I get seasick or not sometime. But in Matthew 8:23, it says, so that the boat was being covered with the waves. Just picture yourself in this boat. The waves are crashing into it, and I don't have any experience on boats, but I've been out in the water. And when I go free diving, I definitely don't want waves. I want calm water. I don't want to have to fight the waves. If those waves are crashing down, I may just turn around and go back home. But these waves are crashing into the boat, and they don't really have the choice to just go home. They're already on the sea. And so, understandably so, everybody else is panicking. And Jesus himself, though, what's Jesus doing? We're kind of seeing the setting outside. It's chaos, it's panic, it's crazy. And Jesus, now we zoom into him, and he's in the stern, sleeping on a cushion. I love it. I love it. Jesus's composure is legendary. This is like I said, the first story that comes to mind of Jesus is all these storms around. Jesus is sleeping. He's sleeping. And they got him up. So Jesus doesn't even wake up from these storms and the waves crashing and the boat rocking. Jesus is sleeping through all of this. So the waves don't wake him up. It's the people that end up waking him up and getting him up. And they say to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" It's kind of interesting, right? Because Jesus is sleeping, oblivious to the outside circumstances because he's so composed here. And, he's also all-knowing, so I can't actually comment on what he knew, what he didn't. But they're like, "Do you not care that you're perishing? We're perishing? You seem to sleep, and you should know these things. You should care, but you're not caring based off of your actions." And so Jesus, he woke up. He rebuked the wind. He said to the sea, "Silence, be still." And the wind died down, and it became perfectly calm. And he said to them, "Why are you so cowardly? Do you still have no faith?" And I just love this picture because Jesus, not only is he sleeping while all this chaos and panic is around him, not only does he have to be woken up, he's not woken up by the chaos, but then afterwards, he wakes up, he goes out, he rebukes the wind, he tells the sea to be still, peace, and then he turns to the individuals and he rebukes them. "Why are you so cowardly? What are you worried about? Why are you so scared?" Right? And most human beings would be like, of course there is reason to be scared in this moment. This seems like a very reasonable time to panic and lose composure. And Jesus, steady, calm, cool, collected. What's the deal? Why are you panicking in these situations? And it's kind of funny because after he says, "Why are you so cowardly?" a normal reaction might be of an individual to kind of toughen up, like, "Hey, I'm not a coward. I'm courageous," right? "I'm brave." And he says, "Do you still have no faith?" But yet they become afraid, right? So after he rebukes them for being cowardly, they become afraid. And we could spend the whole time on this story, but I just wanted to highlight the composure that Jesus has. We could go on for many different accounts and scriptures that share of Jesus's composure, but our time is pretty much it. You could look at the instance of Jesus walking on water and how composed he is during that, how he handles foretelling his death ahead of time. I said the calming of the storm is the first one that comes to mind, but it's not my favorite. My favorite is John 18, where he's the one being arrested in the garden. He's the one who has an army arresting him, yet Jesus is the one giving instructions. Jesus is the one in control. He has complete composure. And back to our definition, it doesn't mean we don't have emotions, but controlled emotions. You can get angry. In fact, the scriptures command us, be angry, but do not sin. Control your anger. You can be frustrated, but control your frustration. You can experience jealousy, godly jealousy, and control that jealousy. Jesus, he has it together. Calm, cool, collected, composed. Unshakable, not flustered, not tripping over himself. The opposite of Peter or the sons of thunder in different circumstances. And so we appreciate Jesus for who he is and the example he sets of composure. Do I think it's realistic that we're going to be as composed as Jesus? Of course not. right? But we could all stand to work on that quality. Jesus, he not only has that composed and calm demeanor, but he brings calmness to our life. If you want to learn more about being calm or the peace that Jesus gives, check out episode 7 of this podcast because it covers the peace that Jesus gives. You'll certainly learn more about this subject. I want to thank you for listening. The best way to reach me is on Instagram at Jesus and Truth. If you're looking for a minister, looking for a church, or looking for an answer to your Bible questions, please reach out. Subscribe to easily listen to the next episode of Jesus and Truth. Much love in Jesus. Amen.